It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to have you along for the ride as well. And always feel free to text in on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. So you can be a part of the show. Give us a shout. Give us a question, a comment, a disagreement, whatever may be on your mind.
No disagreements allowed. You're not allowed to disagree with me at all.
Never.
Nope.
We're all on the same page here. But a lot of different things to discuss today as Mondays are always busy to recap what happened over the weekend. What's happened in the Mountain West? What are the current standings? What happened over the weekend with high school football? A busy weekend in the NFL. We had some local schools winning state championships. We'll update you on that and the latest RPI rankings for the high school stuff as well. But Utah State did not hold the press conference last week. It was their bye week, but they do play this week. So Bronco Mendenhall and a couple of players met with the media today, and we had some news today. Jason?
Yeah, Ike Larsen has been reinstated to the team. Mentioned that it was very unlikely that he plays against Vanderbilt for a number of reasons, but also apparently he wasn't even reinstated to the team as of the Vanderbilt game. Bronco Mendenhall saying that Ike Larsen was reinstated to the team on Tuesday during the bye week. So,
yes. In fact, let's hear what he has to say about that specifically. His comments earlier today with the media. Here's what Bronco had to say specifically about Ike Larsen rejoining the team.
Ike was reinstated on Tuesday of last week, and so Ike practiced with us Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and it's been really business as usual. I addressed the team briefly. As Ike was in the team meeting, I addressed the team briefly. It was a 7-week suspension. He's worked hard to work through all the requirements that I thought were appropriate, and the team has welcomed him. And again, it really has just seemed like it's just been business as usual since then. And my hope is that Ike has a fantastic finish of the season, both on and off the field and academically and everything else. I'd like it to see it really end well for not only him but our program.
So, I mean, he is the player most often talked about or asked about who isn't, currently active on the roster.
Yeah.
We get questions about Ike Larsen a lot during this show and during the KVNU game day post-game show, but looks like things are moving in a good direction here, and that's positive news for Ike Larsen, but also for the Utah State secondary, as Utah State's pass defense has been problematic the last couple of weeks. Now we don't know how soon Ike Larsen will actually be involved in games, but at least we know he has been practicing with the team and he is moving in the right direction to help Utah State.
Yeah, and so we can get into potential getting into the game in a minute here, but I think just looking at if he's able to play, if he's able to do that, then yeah, you add someone to the defensive backfield that I think they could use. Are they in desperate need of somebody to come fill in? Not necessarily. They have enough depth, but it's getting a little stretched thin. I mean, Ike Larsen was supposed to be there. He's not. Noah Avenger's basically had to move to safety. He was listed in the preseason as a corner, and I thought he'd actually played the first couple of games at corner, but going back and looking at some of the snap data, I think he's just been playing safety all year, and it's been doing so, and it's been doing very well. But hey, if you get Ike Larsen back in there, maybe you can move Noah Avenger to corner, where there has been a bit of a depth issue. Where Courage Ugo, he played like 112 snaps in the first 2 games at corner. They don't have him there anymore. You could use somebody else. Maybe you need to shift a few guys around because they'd have some maybe extra guys at safety at this point. But maybe you could move Avenger back to corner, have some more depth there. Although maybe at this point, guys like Noah Flores and I forgot the other guy who's been playing corner. They have some guys who weren't expecting to play as much corner, but have been doing so. Maybe they're doing all right at this point. But just getting more depth in and of itself helps. But having someone of Ike Larsen's caliber, that's something that could help make a difference in turning Utah State from iffy in the pass game, not catastrophically bad, but certainly a bit iffy, and helping them move forward. You're going to need some big performances, especially this week against a pass-heavy team like Hawaii. You're going to want the best guys available, the guys who can make plays on the defensive side, and Ike Larsen could very well do that.
But here's the thing. He still has to get a jersey number.
Yes, he does.
Before he can do that. You can't take the field if you don't have a number. And so he's one of 17, 18 guys that don't have jersey numbers still. I mean, we're about at the halfway point of the season, and some guys still do not have a jersey number. And Bronco also addressed that. Now, this includes Ike Larsen in this discussion. But that was my first question to Coach Mendenhall. I was thinking that with the bye week and a little extra time, we might see fewer players without jersey numbers, but that number really hasn't changed. So here's what he had to say about that. And you can take this with also the Ike Larsen news now, because he still has to work to get his jersey number before he can play on Saturday at Hawaii.
No, it'll continue all the way till the last game of the season. And so in our program, each Thursday, the coaching staff and those that are working with those young men, they nominate basically who we call them Mad Hatters. Rather than wearing pennies, there's colored hats they put over their helmets, which reflect and represent the opponent each week. And so they submit nominations for Hatters of the Week, offense, defense, special teams. There's been 3 players that are repeatedly winning the Hatters of the Week. So again, as someone without a number is nominated for the Hatter of the Week, then that gives them a chance to earn their jersey. There's just a number of players battling so hard every week, they're kind of hard to dethrone. But that opportunity is available every single week. And so there are no restrictions. It's open for anyone that can battle and earn. And, so we're optimistic and hopeful. And the players are working really hard. So the culture is vibrant. But it'll be open all the way through the bowl game.
Yeah, so there are some players who may or may not even get a jersey number. And obviously, kind of goes without saying, got to have a number to play. You're not allowed to show up on the field without a jersey number. So, yeah, when I did my hand count this morning, it was 17 players that didn't have a jersey number. That included Ike Larsen. So they're continually going through the process every week of maybe nominating players to get a new jersey number. Most got their jersey number in fall camp. Some did not. Ike Larsen was one of those. So if he's going to play, he has to earn that, and it's a player-driven process. Mendenhall basically, they have this player leadership council, and he's like, all right, it's up to you guys. Come tell me when somebody's ready to get that jersey number.
Right,
so,
and it's the big mentality for this team. It's everything is earned, not given.
Yeah, so Ike's got to go out there and make that impression on his teammates. They know him, he knows them. It's very much a process where he has to prove to his peers that he is ready and that he follows and is part of that culture. And whether he's able to do that quick, whether it takes a couple of weeks, I don't know. That's something that's hard to say for sure, whether or not he's going to do immediately. He's been practicing with the team, so obviously he's probably going to be in that game shape. Basically 2 weeks worth of practice. He can probably work himself into playing. But does he impress his teams enough he's got 3 days now till Thursday?
Yeah, they leave Thursday.
Yeah, so he's got to get that done. He's got to impress his teammates, And if he does, he can get his jersey number and very likely wear the number 6 once again, as it's still technically available for defensive players.
Available on defense. Yeah. Let's hit the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321 for those who want to chime in. 2444. I hope we've answered your question that you put out there about Ike and his availability for Hawaii. 9952. Look at that. A picture of the Jason Walker show. Was traveling with the USU hockey in Montana and saw an ad for the other Jason Walker show.
Yeah, if you remember, we had him on the show way back when Danny Sprinkle was hired.
It's true.
I happened to cross paths somehow on social media with Jason Walker because he's in Montana, and he hosts his own show up there, covers obviously Montana athletics, Montana and Montana State. And then when the Aggies hired Danny Sprinkle out of Montana State, I was like, I'm not passing this up. And we had him on the show. If you dig far enough back, you'll find it on the Full Court Press podcast feed. But yeah, that was always fun.
Yeah, thanks for passing that along, 9952. That looks great. No copyright infringement there.
No copyright. If I start a Jason Walker show, it's like I can't even use my own name for a show. It's already taken.
It's already taken. 8968. That's good news for Ike Larsen. I hope he does better the last half of the season than he did last. Boise found out, like the Aggie teams in the past, it's not that fun playing with the big boys. Yeah, Boise had a humbling experience with Notre Dame.
Yeah, we'll get into a lot more of our reactions to Mountain West games and also the high school games. That'll be start of the second hour when we really dive into that. Did UNLV throw off any fraud watch notifications? We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
But for now, focusing on Utah State, their bye week, and yeah, like it's a time I think to get healed up. I think that was one of the key things. Utah State's injury list is probably up to like it's somewhere between 15 and 20 players. But
it's long. And I feel I should have had a follow-up to my question about the jersey number thing with Coach Mendenhall, because the follow-up is with still 17 players that don't have jersey numbers, how much more stress does that put on the other players who can play? Especially considering there are so many injuries.
Yeah.
Like, it puts a lot of pressure on the guys who are available to perform and to stay healthy, because you're starting to become very limited on who can come in and give the other guys a rest or a spell at those positions. If you don't have a jersey number, you're not going to get on the field.
Yeah, Bronco has basically self-imposed a smaller roster size. And I know he may say, well, it's on the players. No, Bronco's on you. This is your idea. This is your idea to make players earn their jersey numbers. So you have 17 less players on your roster because you've decided to do this. Not everyone will travel to like all the different road games and whatnot, but still, people get injured, and your roster's smaller anyway, and maybe you would send some of these guys who aren't playing as much. They would travel maybe if there's a longer injury list, but Utah State has self-imposed a smaller roster size because of this whole jersey number shenanigans. I know it sounds great on paper, but this is where we start to see the consequences of that, where there are positive connotations of being player-led and all that. There's a downside to it too.
Yes, absolutely. But using the bye week to get healthy, that's always an important factor. And normally you like your bye weeks kind of deeper into your season. I hate like early season bye weeks. They just do not make sense to me at all.
They get two of them, so
it is a little odd. They get
basically,
two bye weeks.
Everyone
this
gets
year.
Basically everyone gets 2 bye weeks. The Utah State's had 2 bye weeks a lot of years.
Well, if you travel to Hawaii, you can use that other bye week as an opportunity for a 13th game.
That, or if you play in week 0,
Right.
Utah State's done that where they play in week 0 and they get 2 bye games or 2 bye weeks, which is great.
I have had 2 bye games.
Yeah. But yeah, I like having these as long as you can have 2 bye weeks. You like to have one. I would have almost preferred it to happen before the Vanderbilt game, but having it after that and use that as kind of a ramp into conference play is nice.
Remains to be seen. It looks like that the rest will have helped our roster. I'll notice and I'll see again today what those 3 days especially did, and that will frame kind of my maybe more accurate answer. Should have helped. I think it will have helped, and I'm looking forward to seeing a fresher and healthier roster, and looking forward to verifying that today's practice.
And so the premise there was about the bye week and if his team got healthy during the bye week, and he's waiting to see how the things appear in today's practice.
Yeah, either he didn't talk to medical at all during the bye week, or he did and then is pretending he'll talk to him again. And I imagine he wasn't completely not in contact with the training staff and figuring out where his players were. Like, that's a little too crazy, because he acted like he just basically hadn't talked to him at all.
Right. But it sounded like coaches were using the bye week for a break for themselves too. Not like they're taking vacation, but just a different schedule and just their availability and things that they're doing differently. But of course, just as Ike Larsen is asked about a lot about his availability since the late in the game against Vanderbilt, Bryson Barnes' availability going forward has been a big topic of discussion. And Bronco Mendenhall sort of addressed that.
So I haven't made any comment yet. Anxious to visit with medical and see practice today, and then I can be accurate as to where exactly he stands. And I don't intend to keep it a secret. I'll announce as soon as I can get verification.
And announce it to who? We just had our press conference. This is like when Nate Drowning will be, I'll tell you later this week when I hear it. It's like, bro, we only talked to you once.
This is our only availability with you.
Is there availability on Thursday, Bronco? We gonna meet you as you get on the plane? I mean, but they're gonna release an injury report Wednesday or Thursday, so that's when it's nice that you have that.
Yeah, and he'll have his coach's show this week, so I'm sure he'll address it there. I don't know if I'll ask around when I'm up there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because he may know by tomorrow, but
just sneak in, see if Bryson's practicing.
Right.
That's Eric's specialty, sneaking into practice.
Sneak. No, but look, I mean, he's trying to be clear, and but I thought it was interesting. You had a follow up to this about Jacob Conover and his availability and ability, I should say, to lead the team, and if the team should fundamentally change some things about how they operate offensively, if in fact he is the guy to lead the team on Saturday at Hawaii.
We'd prefer it not. We'd prefer it to be Jacob as much as possible. We know Bryson moves the ball many times and corrects mistakes with his legs, so there'd be a little bit less of that. And we'd probably have to find other ways to be able to manufacture that. But we have a lot of confidence in Jacob. And if Bryson's not able to go, it would be Jacob's role to have. And he would be backed up by C.J. Tiller. And then you'd probably see Anthony Garcia's role kind of expand somewhere between more athlete besides just receiver.
I thought that was interesting.
I really liked how he added things that I didn't ask for. So it was nice that he added that, because not only did he say, yeah, Jacob Conover's there, and that we hope the offense won't change, but then he's like, look, Jacob Conover's not going to run as much. He's not Bryson Barnes. But we hope not to have to change the offense too much, which I don't think they did a ton against Vanderbilt when they had him come in. He was just throwing the ball. They were running their regular pass stuff. They obviously passed a lot more because of the nature of where the game was at that point. But, and I wrote a whole article about this, or at least part of it talked about Jacob Conover. That was my Monday cool down a week ago today, where I looked at some of those throws and said, look, Jacob Conover wasn't tested a ton, but on some of the throws he had to make, there were some decent ones. And some other ones where he didn't show as much, but they were difficult throws where he wasn't able to connect. So not a ton to worry about. But as we discussed last week as well, like there's a reason Jacob Conover's the backup. But what was some interesting is like, well, what the heck? What if Jacob Conover has to go
what's
out?
the progression of other quarterbacks that step in?
And so it's C.J. Tiller, which I thought was interesting, because honestly, my pet theory was that Anthony Garcia was the real backup quarterback. Turns out I was just wrong, because Jacob Conover, and apparently C.J. Tiller is your third string. And so Anthony Garcia is apparently like your fourth string quarterback, which is probably a big part of why, maybe at the end of camp, he was like, all right, I need to play wide receiver because I'm clearly not getting on the field as a quarterback. So he's been able to make some things happen there. But yeah, the note about, hey, look, if C.J. Tiller has to come in for, if it comes to that, and heck, even if Jacob Conover's the one playing, Anthony Garcia's role as a potential passer or gadget play guy, that likelihood goes up as they try and find ways to keep creative. Kevin McGivern has been fantastically creative this year. And so if you have to go to a situation where it's a backup and your creativity might be limited by player ability, find new ways. Like when they had like two of their main potential wide receivers this season, Corey Thompson and Demick Starling, when both of them went down for the year, they got creative by using their running backs as wide receivers basically half the time. So they can find ways to get creative using Anthony Garcia if they don't have Bryson Barnes available for this game.
A lot more from the coach and some of the players that we heard from today as the coming out of a bye week, preparing for Hawaii. Love to continue to get your questions, your comments about this football team. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air, it's more than just service. They provide top-quality installations for both residential and commercial spaces. So you're not just getting equipment, you're getting a whole team of professionals dedicated to making sure you and your family truly feel the love. Whether it's a brand new installation or replacing an old system, trust the experts who care. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
The patio is open, the chips are endless, drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Looking for a shed that's built to last? At Top Shed, we're making sheds great again. Crafted with premium materials right here in northern Utah, our custom sheds are built strong for the toughest conditions, and will even come built on-site in towns like Logan, Tremont, and Preston, Malad. With late summer and fall here, now is the perfect time to get your shed designed, built, and delivered for year-round use. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit topshedusa.com.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Coach Ike definitely made that a big emphasis on our pass protection because our first few games were not up to standard. So we've been definitely hitting it harder in practice and in lead drills, and then our one-on-ones we've been trying to focus on sharpening up our technique on that and just hitting it hard.
Tavo Motu'apuaka, excuse me.
You have to practice saying that.
Yes. Talking about the team getting better in pass protection. First couple of games, Bryson Barnes was on his back a lot. Opposing teams have not been able to get as many sacks on Bryson Barnes the last few games, and that's been a focus. And you can tell that it's getting better for Utah State.
Yeah, it has. 6 sacks in the first 2 games. Then I think... how many was it against? I'm suddenly forgetting their schedule, to be honest. They only allowed 2. They allowed 3 in the whole game. 2 of those were on Bryson Barnes. And then they had, I think, 2 or 3 allowed against Air Force. And then only 1 against McNeese. So do the math on that. A lot less than 12, or maybe just barely. I think it's still only 8 or 9. What is the math on that? 3, basically 3-2, so that's 6.
Yeah.
In the last 3 games, after 6 in each of the first 2.
6 in each of the first, yeah.
So, and one of those being in garbage time when you're just all pass. I think there's still some issues with how often they're giving up pressure. There were a lot of plays against Vanderbilt where Bryson Barnes was pressured, and that caused some issues. And that was kind of similar to how it was against Texas A&M. They just happened to get to him a lot more. But still, those are your 2 highest caliber opponents. And when you look at opponents that are going to be similar to what they faced this season in the Mountain West, I think you're a lot more encouraged by their ability to keep the quarterback upright, give him enough time to allow progression of the pass game, which they're going to need, and they're going to especially need if they don't have Bryson Barnes, because he's able to make a lot of things happen with his legs. He can kind of escape some pressure, scramble, some impressive stuff. Conover's not necessarily going to do that. He's not going to make plays with his legs. And especially your backup quarterbacks aren't going to be as ready to face that pressure, because that's just not something they're seeing day in and day out, because you're not really dealing with that on the practice field. Yeah. So he's not going to be as ready to deal with pass pressure as Barnes is now, having, played 5 games.
True. And but going back to Tavo, talking about that offensive line, doing a better job in their pass protection, but generally doing better as a unit, and taking the bye week as an opportunity to continue to come together and also develop some depth on the offensive line.
This group, one thing I could say, if I could describe it in one word, is resilience. We have a lot of injuries, and we always have a next man up. I mean, Kelly, he's been great for us. He can play all 5 positions. Junior Sia stepping up, playing right next to me at right tackle. So yeah, I'm very happy with this group, and I'm excited to play with them and practice with them every day and every weekend.
There's been some injuries here or there. Different guys have had to step in, and I'd imagine that Trey Anderson would be available this weekend. Junior Sia has done a nice job in his place. But do they move different guys around? Now they have some more health, or what is the rotation and depth look like at offensive line? This is a really good week for them to get healthy and improve their depth and versatility, because they will now have that coming into the game Saturday at Hawaii.
They need guys to get healthy. You've lost your starting right tackle, Trey Anderson. He might be back. We'll see. Then you lost your starting left tackle in the last game, Jake Eichhorn. We're not sure if he's ever going to be back this season. Or who knows, he might be able to be back this week. It just depends on how serious that was. So you still have the interior O-line. That's still intact. Jimmy Liston, George Miley, and Tavo himself. You've heard him talk there. So you have that. That's nice. But, especially for pass blocking, going up against these, edge rushers, that's their job, is, get after the quarterback. So tackles have a lot of importance in that pass protection. You're missing your top 2 guys. And so, yeah, depth has to come into play. If Junior C has got to come in, he's done pretty well for a right tackle coming in and playing. But he's supposed to be your swing tackle that can come in and play spot snaps. Like, you want him for that role, not having to play full-time tackle. And then, I don't know if Utah State, they've pretty much used up their depth. You're supposed to have 7 at minimum, 8's, 8's the realistic ideal. I mean, ideally you'd have an entire backup offensive line, but 8's kind of your realistic ideal of how many offensive linemen that you're comfortable playing 50 to 60 snaps if you had to. Utah State's pretty much reached that limit already. I don't know if they have anyone behind them, so if anybody else gets injured, we've already had some offensive line issues, but that can get even worse if they don't get that depth back. And it has nothing to do with the capability of the guys right now. They're capable enough. But if somebody else goes down, things can go south real quick, because there's a lack of experience and capability beyond, again, what they've already used up as their top 7-8 guys.
Besides addressing issues with pass protection or being more consistent on offense, the offense generally has been a real strength for Utah State this season. I mean, they're finding the end zone, they're scoring points, they're moving the ball up and down the field. Some of those issues that were plaguing the team earlier are getting addressed and seem to be improving. But there continue to be some real issues on the defense that they got picked apart by the Vanderbilt passing attack. There were even some issues against Air Force, of all teams, where the pass defense was struggling. So there's been some games on defense where Utah State has really struggled, and that's been a real weak point for Utah State. John Miller, who's been fantastic this season, among not just the Mountain West best, but among college football's best in what he does week in and week out. He visited with us today also and talked about how this has been a really important week to try to get that defense more consistent.
I definitely think it's probably being able to know our assignment as the best we can, because if we know our assignment, we can play fast. And that kind of was the biggest thing in those 2 games where we didn't play the best, was our assignments were lackadaisical and we just weren't very detailed. And I feel like that's what we drove into this bye week, was we're going to be more detailed, more focused on our assignments and what we have to do so that we can have all 11 of us playing faster.
Yeah, and then just to couple that, what their other things they're focusing on during the bye week as a defensive unit, and as specifically to him in the linebacker core.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this bye week, we used it as a week to get better and still work hard, but also try to recover our bodies as much as we could possibly. I feel like that was our biggest thing, is get people healthy, get people back feeling 100%, but also using that bye week as linebackers to make sure that we still keep the physical aspect up and make sure that we're still flying around to the ball. I feel like that's our biggest thing that we want to get worked on, is just being faster and physical and trying to get 11 hats at the ball. That's kind of really the focus.
Yeah, and with Utah State, their defense, this is something that both Mendenhall kind of touched on, and then obviously John Miller, we just played that where we talked about the consistency. And for Utah State, you basically, of their 5 games, you have 2 good games on defense, 2 bad games on defense, and 1 kind of in between. And the 2 good, I mean, you could probably guess which one of the 2 good. That's UTEP and McNeese, where I look at yards per play. For these, they allow 3.9 yards per play against UTEP. You hold team 16 points. That's pretty solid. McNeese, they held them to 3.5 yards per play. Really good. You only allow 7 points. Then you have allowing 8.4 yards per play, which is bad. At Vanderbilt, they just absolutely tore the Aggies a new one on defense. A&M not nearly as bad with the 7 yards even per play. Still 44 points, 554 total yards of offense, which is technically the season high, but they ran more plays to get that total. And then you have an in-between game against Air Force. You allow 5.3 yards per play, hold team to 30 points. It's not good. It's not horrible. But like when you look at all these, there's a pretty common thing of they held 2 bad offenses to low totals. UTEP, McNeese, at least relative to the FBS. I can't speak of McNeese's offensive caliber at this point. I know they had a good start. I don't know how they've done since, but compared to the FBS, they do not have a good offense. UTEP does not have a good offense. Texas A&M and Vanderbilt have really good offenses.
Yes.
And so they did really well against the Aggies, whereas 2 bad offenses played bad against the Aggies. Then you have Air Force, who probably not like highest in the country the way Texas A&M and Vanderbilt kind of are. Although Vanderbilt did struggle a bit against Alabama this week.
Yes, they did.
But Air Force, in terms, relative to the Mountain West, they're pretty good. They have arguably one of the best offenses in the Mountain West, the way they've been just consistently putting up points against pretty much everybody. Like, I think Utah State might be one of, if not still the lowest point total they have the entire season. It actually is. It's still the lowest that Air Force has scored. So, like, what you see is Utah State allowing great defenses to play great against them. Bad defenses, they hold in the bad. And then the middle of the line, it's middle of the line. And you might think, well, duh, that's how it works. But you want a defense to be able to enforce its will. Have great offenses play good. Have middle of the line offenses play bad against you. And then just completely shut down bad offenses. And so basically you need Utah State to basically take one step further up. When it's a good offense that can score 35, 40 points, have them score 24 against you. When it's an offense that can put up 49 against almost anybody, have them put up 35 against you. And that's not what we're seeing with Utah State now. So you just need to see them take that step forward. I don't think this defense is catastrophically bad. I know I was getting on this last week where I thought it's almost too similar to last year's offense.
Right.
But taking a bit more of a look at it, I think that they aren't as bad as that analysis was last week, but it's still not good enough because a good offense is going to come in and just put up points against the Aggies. And if you're a good defense, you're not going to allow that to happen. And so that's where we need to see Utah State take that step forward. Make offenses playing your defense play worse than they normally do. And the Aggies haven't really forced that on anybody this year, for the most part.
No, and one of the things that's interesting is so far through the season so far, there haven't been close games.
Yep.
And we talked about this last week that some multiple, actually, not just one, but various computer models for looking at the rest of the schedule for Utah State shows that they're going to be a lot of close games, like one possession games, coin flip games. It could go either direction. Utah State may be favored in some of those. Their opponents may be favored in some of those, but likely to be a lot of close games upcoming. So on that point, that Utah State defense has to be able to hold those teams below their averages to give themselves chances in these close, tight contests that could go either way.
Yeah, when it's a one possession game, somebody's got to make a play. And it's usually a combination of your defense makes a stop. Like if it's a high scoring game, your defense finally makes that one stop and your offense takes a step forward. But somebody's got to make that final play in these one possession games, and it could be on offense or defense. If you're behind, you need your offense to make that one final play, get the go-ahead score with like a minute left or under a minute left. Or if it's the defense, you got to make that one final stop with like 3 minutes to play, hand the ball back to your offense, let them run out the clock. Like somebody's got to make that play. Could it just be the offense? Maybe, but with the defense, you need to be able to keep it as a one-score game. Like the offense scored a decent number of points across these Vanderbilt and Texas A&M games. Like you've told Utah State fans they were going to score 35 points against Vanderbilt, they probably would have been happy with that.
Yeah,
well, and would have expected it to be relatively close. But no, they lost by 20.
The offense should have confidence that if they score and there's only a few seconds left on the clock, that the opponent's not going to get points.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen before halftime at Vanderbilt. So, I mean, part of that's on the special teams, but part of it's on the defense as well. And so the offense needs to have confidence that the defense can at least hold its own, if not try to improve and keep teams below what their averages are. But to the point about future games being close and looking at some of these computer models, you asked Coach Mendenhall about this, that there are a lot of close games still on Utah State's schedule, and here was his response to that.
Part of it's getting them ready for that, and that is basically been our message, is we think the Mountain West Conference is wide open. We think there's almost complete parity, and it's too early to say otherwise, but that's what we're preparing for. And so if the computers say that, I don't know whether that's an endorsement or an indictment, but I guess we'll see. But I kind of see it the same way as of today, which is right October 6th. We'll just let it play out.
Yeah, he's got to prepare his team for close games. How well do they perform when it's down to the wire, when it's late in the game, when the outcome is not really decided? Because so far, pretty much all the other games that they've played in the fourth quarter, the game's already been decided one way or the other. But what if it's a tight game and it's coming down to the last possession? Can this team handle that pressure? Can they perform and do their job?
Yeah, we've seen the closest game the Aggies have had, UTEP. Their defense came up big, made some stops, so the game didn't really get close enough, so their offensive struggles were a problem. But say UTEP had scored and made it a 24-8, 28 game. It might have been 23-20, 20. I don't know if they would have gone for two in any situation, but like make it a one-possession game. How would they have handled that? Would the defense have folded a little bit under the pressure, whereas there was enough of a cushion that the defense played relaxed, played fine? With Air Force, they built up enough of a cushion that even though the defense folded a little bit against Air Force, that's a bit harsh. Like Air Force made some unexpected plays. They went to the pass game a little sooner than Utah. Like Utah State just wasn't ready for that adjustment, and so they allowed a few more points. But heck, even though the defense started giving them a few more points, the Aggie offense just kept going. So, like, they responded well. So, like, we've seen different units respond well to games that were almost close. But what happens when the game is super close? Do one or both of those units still perform? We have yet to find that out. We don't know what that's going to look like. It could happen this week at Hawaii, who's been involved. I think both their conference games were basically tight through the entire game.
They've had a number of really close games.
I think the Air Force might have ended up as a more than one possession game, but it was tight. It was back and forth for a lot of that fourth quarter. So Hawaii's been in those close games, and they've won both of them, at least in conference games. And heck, they won a close game against Stanford.
Yeah,
they know what it's like to play in the clutch. Utah State does not. We'll see how that pans out.
All right, we've got to take a time out here on the Full Court Press. Still more to get to, and love to hear from you as well. Any comments or reactions that you have to the press conference earlier today? 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
New news from the Riverwoods Conference Center. All-inclusive pricing is now available for every occasion. Imagine your dream wedding, your daughter's quinceañera, corporate retreats, family parties, business conferences, or expos. Whether you're searching for a small private area, a breathtaking outdoor reception by the river, or an event that accommodates up to 2,000 people, the Riverwoods Conference Center makes event planning effortless with its perfect combination of beauty, service, catering, and now all-inclusive pricing. Visit theriverwoods.com or call 750-5151 for more information today.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Are you worried about the high Medicare supplement premiums or wondering what your prescription costs will be next year? There are so many Medicare options and it can feel overwhelming. That's why I'm here to help guide you through every choice. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493 to talk to a licensed local agent. No pressure, no cost, just clear personal advice you can trust. Don't wait. Changes must be made by December 7th. Call 752-9493 today.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
I saw some snow on the top of the mountains this weekend.
There's some snow in the Wyoming game, too.
Yes, there was. So it's time to gear up for winter. Young Power Sports of Logan can help you do that. Don't wait for more snow. It's already coming. So get ready now with blowout pricing on Polaris and Ski-Doo snowmobiles up to $4,000 off MSRP. And the largest climb and winter gear showroom in northern Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming. Jackets, helmets, boots, everything you need to ride in comfort and style. It's Young Power Sports Logan, your headquarters for winter fun. We got a chance to visit with Coach Bronco Mendenhall today, Tavo Motu'apuaka, and also John Miller as Utah State prepares for Hawaii. But before we do too much in prepping for the Warriors, it's a good chance to look back at the bye week and the week that was. How did they kind of handle themselves, team trying to get healthier? But it's also, these are important weeks for programs for their future of the program. Oftentimes, veteran players don't compete as hard in bye weeks, so it gives opportunities for underclassmen or guys that are deeper on the rotation to get more time in practice. But it's also time to recruit for the future. And Coach Mendenhall talked a little bit about that. He and his coaching staff hit the recruiting trail this weekend since they didn't have a game to play.
In relation to our recruiting efforts, mostly in-state. However, we had players and we had coaches out of state as well for specific targets, specific commitments, and players that we needed to see in relation to our needs or to hold on to their commitment. And that part was really beneficial. And it's always nice for routine breaks for not only players but coaches also. So the coaches that were in state were able to get back home and be with their families, and those that were out of state, that's also a kind of a nice break to, rather than playing a game, just travel, drive to the game, watch a high school or junior college game, whatever it might be, and then come back and have a Sunday of football or a Saturday night of football, because most of those games were on Friday. And so I've just sensed kind of a renewed energy from our whole organization as they've come back.
This is a really important recruiting time, not only for what they do in this bye week. High school's definitely in season right now. Junior colleges are in season right now. But what they do this week, too, is important, where they have the benefit of having bye week this week. They're able to shift their schedule a little bit in their preparation, because they're going to leave Thursday to go to Hawaii. So they will have Friday to acclimate. They're going to have most of Saturday as well, because the game's not going to start until later in the day, Saturday night. So they're going to have time to acclimate and be prepared. But arriving that early also helps the coaches. It's not as important for the coaches to be acclimated as the players.
Unless you're worried about them falling asleep on the sideline.
Right. But it's an important recruiting weekend to be in Hawaii, too, because Utah State has a long tradition of players coming from Hawaii, from the islands, from various places around the Pacific. And so this is an important weekend for Utah State and its program in playing a game in Hawaii.
Oh, I think it's great. College football, anytime you have a chance to go home to play, it's a special opportunity. We have lots of Pacific Islanders on our team, and really more than anything, I'd like them to have success. It's great to be able to go home and play well and win, and the hugs and smiles and celebrations with family members after the game, which are going to happen regardless. But when you play well, it's just a different tone and better. And so I'm anxious and hopeful that will happen for our team.
Yeah, whether there's a game that happens in Texas and there's players from Texas on the roster, or you're in Hawaii or California or wherever. I mean, these are great opportunities, and it's obviously a lot harder for family in Hawaii to travel to a game than it might be if you have family in Texas. So this is big. This is a great opportunity for a lot of these players to get home, or at least close to home, where they may not have their family, but they may have relatives and others whom they know, be able to be there and support them and be out there to cheer on and support their friends.
Yeah, and so it's nice, someone like Tavo Motu'apuaka from Hawaii. I think I overheard that his older brother Holly may not, as he was walking out, I think somebody asked him, and I think he said Holly may not be able to make it there. I think even though I think from what I've heard, Holly's Motu'apuaka is back on the islands, former Utah State defensive tackle. But still, most of the family should be able to make it for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, so cool opportunity. There's quite a number of players that are Polynesian that always get excited about getting there. And Tavo did say that he knows a bunch of guys, about 24 guys on that roster.
Guys he would have played high school football with. Obviously, Hawaii heavily recruits there on, but Utah seems to have a pretty good way of because it's not just Utah State, it's also Utah and BYU.
Right.
There's a big, Pacific Islander to Utah pipeline.
Absolutely. All right, another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, Major League Baseball playoffs getting underway again today after some surprising games over the weekend. So I'll give you an update on where those standings are in the divisional series. Coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Addiction is something in this day and age I think all of us have been touched by in some form or way. For me, 14 years ago, I lost my father to an opioid overdose. Addiction is something that whether you're struggling with it personally or you're watching someone you love struggle with it, it can feel like there's no hope. If you've lost hope or you're scared for someone that you love and you don't see hope on their path, call Renaissance Ranch today. You can learn more at renaissanceranch.net. They have a location right here in Logan.
Looking for a luxurious local space to host your next gathering? The Hive Event Center in downtown Logan brings modern elegance to your wedding, private party, or business event. Your guests will be amazed at the glamorous design, and you'll benefit from the advanced tech included in every rental, from DIY parties to full-service packages. 255 South Main in Logan behind Beehive Grill. Luxury lives here. The Hive is your place to gather.
Luxury lives here. Luxury lives here. The Hive.
See us online at thehivelogan.com.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Keep your car running its best with help from Napa Auto Parts. If you need a new battery, if you need new wiper blades, they can check on that and they can help you install new ones if necessary. And if you need a local mechanic you can trust, visit a locally owned Napa Auto Care Center. Find one also at napaonline.com or just go into any of the stores at your locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts. They can give you solid recommendations to help you with your vehicle. Major League Baseball, National League, American League, divisional series are underway. We've got Game 2 going on right now in the National League Divisional Series between the Phillies and the Dodgers. No score yet. One of the big storylines going into this, Shohei Ohtani, he has struck out 5 straight times in this series, in the National League Divisional Series. So he's not had any luck at the plate so far.
They can talk about how he's not clutch and all that kind of stuff they put every star player through.
That's probably coming. But we had certainly these games began on Saturday. A couple of games that were not interesting at all. Blue Jays just clobbered the Yankees. Brewers took it to the Cubs. But Dodgers and Phillies game 1 was close, and Dodgers got it done. They won that one 5-3. And then we had extra innings in the first game between the Tigers and the Mariners, with Detroit getting the first win in Seattle 3-2. Different story on Sunday where the Mariners were able to win that one, but again, close, 3-2. But the Blue Jays have just been taking it to the Yankees in their first 2 games. So they won that second game 13-7.
Yeah, some Yankees fan, there's one saying that no fan base has it worse than the Yankees. And the entire internet rolled their eyes so hard that I'm surprised the rotation of the earth hasn't reversed.
Yeah, Toronto looks great. Yankees, not so much. But so we got the Dodgers and Phillies going on right now. That's on TBS. And then coming up a little bit later on, after this game is over, it's expected to start at 7. But that's going to be the Cubs and the Brewers in Game 2 of that series to see if Chicago can breathe a little bit more life into their bats.
Are you nervous?
I am nervous because Milwaukee was not good to the Cubs during the regular season. So
definitely not.
So anyway, that's what's going on with Major League Baseball tonight. Doubleheader on TBS. Tomorrow, the doubleheader's on FS1. Afternoon game with the Mariners and Tigers as the series shifts to Detroit. 2 o'clock on FS1. And then at 6 o'clock, it'll be Blue Jays and Yankees as the series shifts to New York, and Yankees hoping to, for themselves, breathe some life into their series there because they have not looked good at all.
Yeah, I don't care. Well, at least
I don't either,
for the Yankees, particularly. I mean, this is usually the part where I'm not a big baseball guy, but this is usually about the part of the season where I start turning games on regularly.
Yeah, I mean, this has been what's happened so far in the playoffs for Major League Baseball has been huge for TV ratings. Having the players that are involved, the teams that are involved, has been great. We'll see how well that continues if the Yankees get bounced or if the Dodgers get bounced.
We're going to have a problem if there's small market teams get into the World Series. I mean, they got what they wanted. Was it last year where was it Dodgers, Yankees in the World Series last year?
Dodgers were there.
Or were they?
Wasn't it the Yankees?
I want to say it was. This tells you you're the baseball guy.
I'm totally
makes sense for
now.
me not to know, but this is your deal. Of course, I have forgotten who was in the Super Bowl before.
Oh, yes.
Like the year before. I can name like half. Like if you name a year, I can probably
it was
tell
the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Yeah, it was the Dodgers. Like that was the whole thing. It's like, oh, it's exactly what TV executives wanted. And it's like, well, what about this year? How would we get not?
It's so forgettable because the Dodgers won it 4-1.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good series.
No,
but it was the matchup everyone wanted, even though if it was the most boring series we'd had in a while.
Yeah, that's true. So stick around. A lot more to get into next hour here on the Full Court Press. What happened throughout the Mountain West Conference? Do we still have some frauds in the conference, or teams really starting to separate and look like the real deal? And also update on what happened in high school football.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After parting ways with a Hall of Fame quarterback, some teams wander the football desert for decades hoping to find the next one. The Broncos stumbled through the post-Elway wilderness before landing on Peyton Manning. As for the Patriots, the post-Tom Brady drought might have lasted all of 5 seasons. Drake May looks like the real deal. The second-year quarterback out of North Carolina has that rare blend of arm strength, poise, athleticism, and he looks like he belongs. On Sunday night against the undefeated Bills, he turned that potential into proof. Facing a ferocious pass rush, a raucous primetime stage, he was nearly flawless in the second half, 13 of 14 for 184 yards. Now, too early to etch his name outside Foxborough, but if last night was any indication, the Patriots' search for their next franchise quarterback might already be over, and the Drake May era has officially begun. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.